is so beautiful this morning. I'm going to say something about the 7 stages of the compassion work, which started in 2003. My dear friend Laura Sims calls it the compassion work, but actually she now calls it, and I now call it, the compassion and inclusion work. I'm just going to go down by the river to talk more about the 7 leaves, the 7 stages. Just going to slide down this bank, hopefully without falling in the river. Okay. So stage 1, 2003, Frameworks for Change established at a time of family crisis where both jobs were lost, where a family member was in need of care over time, and where deep feeling within me about something being wrong in the culture of health and social care grew and persisted. So the establishment of Frameworks for Change, stage 1. The development of values, practices, habits over the next few years, kind of making it up as we went along, meeting wonderful people, Frankie Briers, Alistair Scott and Neil Scott and Julia Patton, Jess Willow, Caroline Pakal, Dia Ali, really wonderful people, amazing. And then of course our extraordinary clients that were up for doing the work. Denise Cracknell, Julia Patton, Octavia Housing, Richard Durant, Robert Marks, amazing people. Christine Griffin, Jenny Rees, Mary Freer, friends, allies. So the values, courage, humility, discipline, inclusion, justice. And the habits started to emerge. Thank you to Paul Gilbert, John Kabat-Zinn, Nancy Klein, Micheline Mason. We started to wonder, are there some habits that might help us to create a more stable field of compassion? And we, after a couple of years of testing, refining, playing, distilling, experimenting, evaluating, we settled on 3 habits. Listening with a quiet mind, i.e. listening to hear rather than listening to speak. Second habit, listening to what? Listening to the answer to questions that matter. Asking questions that matter, habit 2. Habit 3, appreciating from the heart. so many of the people that we were meeting in the health and care system were not being listened to, didn't feel like they mattered, and were not being appreciated. Patients, staff, at all levels, care workers, doctors, surgeons, anaesthetists, physiotherapists, OTs, speech and language therapists, nurses, managers, porters, cleaners. Remember, we did some work at the Royal Marsden with the inimitable, extraordinary Sue Cressy, who was leading the practice development for the healthcare assistants, and we brought people together who wouldn't normally be together, and the solidarity was found in the shared sense of it's the patients that matter, which of course they do, but where are we in this systemic awareness? So, second stone, values and habits. And then with the work of the wonderful Paul Johansson from the Kindful Way practices. Forgive me, principles. What are the principles that could only come to light through the testing of these ideas in relation to direct contact with the real world? Because many in the health and social care system have very little time, and there are a lot of people who don't suffer fools gladly. So, yeah, lots of time in nature with Paul, lots of road trips, integrating, breaking bad news with compassion circles. And the principles that surfaced were holding space. First principle that we call holding space. How do we hold space for ourselves, each other, and the world around us? The second principle, mindful self-compassion. So can we learn to treat ourselves with kindness rather than judgment? Can we connect at a deeper level with a sense of common humanity and the non-human world? Just like me, you suffer. And just like me, you wish to be happy. Sense of universal suffering. But also universal potential for that suffering to be mitigated. The essential importance of mindfulness and compassion in that mitigation. Turning towards our difficulty rather than zoning out or ignoring And the third principle, being in community. So we love what Meg Wheatley says, whatever the question, the answer is community. So, the principles. And then perhaps in a sense bringing all of this together, the circle work. Professor Steve Onyett, so sadly no longer with us, a fierce advocate of the way of counsel, the power of structured reflection in the circle. Francis Briers, without whom compassion circles may never have come into existence. Professor Maxine Craig, who literally, spiritually, metaphorically invited the first circle in 2012. Maxine wrote to me the morning after the first ever compassion circle, which was 2.5 hours, and said if you can get that down to an hour, I think it will scale. Compassion circles. Made a splash. It did make a splash. Continues to make a splash. Charlie Jones and Ben Waits and many colleagues bringing the compassion circle to Wales, renaming it, taking caregiving care rounds, manualising it, formalising it, evaluating it, communities of practice, masterclasses, supporting facilitators, Andrea Gray, compassion circles in Wales, Bridget Bowen, compassionate mental health, supporting, making space for, enabling, accelerating. Amazing. So, taking care, giving care rounds. Claire Dalloway and colleagues in the Black Country merging 2 mental health trusts. Beautiful work. Both executives of the 2 trusts on board with compassion circles being central to the integration of their teams and the evolution of their culture and their values. So compassion circles, taking care, giving care rounds, and in the Black Country they're called care circles. Now with COVID-19, so the story so far is taken from 2003 to 2020, 17 years, and then since March 2020, with the COVID-19 context and the urgency of psychological safety and the potential for both post-traumatic stress and post-traumatic growth, the accelerator pedal has well and truly been put to the floor. I hasten to add an electric car, so there's no damage to the environment. So Charlie Jones at Southmead Hospital, who introduced compassion circles into Wales, was reassigned from his role in leading the care of the patients to now leading the care of the staff. Charlie sat down for a cuppa with a colleague and said, well, we need to do a compassion circle for those in the emergency zone, but we can't get them for an hour. And on the back of an envelope, they created a design that integrated those principles, those values and those habits, and called it 20-minute space. By the end of that day, it was called 20-minute care space. Thank you, Charlie. You've been extraordinary. Beautiful work. 20-minute care space. And Laura and Sonia and the clinical team, Robin at NHS England, the Leadership Academies, the digital team, have been working so well. My experience has been the work has been inclusive, it's been humane, it's been people-centred, and so Care Space has become now there is a 10-minute version called Pause Space. 10-minute pause space. Same principles, same habits, same values. 10-minute container. Pause space. Conscious, structured reflection. If you're having a dip, if we're having a dip, let's circle, let's care, let's pause. The dip, let's decompress, let's remind ourselves of our intention, and let's process just a little at least of what is going on at this extraordinary time. And now there's even, I'm going to find a big stone for this one. Just going to see which of these stones speaks to me. Here's the final stage on the rocket. Blast off. Oh, nice, smooth. So this final stone is, what do I need? How can I care more deeply for myself at this time? What does self-compassion look, sound and feel like for me? This is the 5-minute me space. Just sit with that. The sounds, the look, the feel, the size of the stone in my hand. In fact, I'm going to keep this stone. Put this stone in my pocket. Me space. So thank you one and all. I just want to acknowledge the extraordinary life's work and friendship and fierce advocacy of the compassion work from our dear friend Professor Steve Onyett, and my loving thanks to Adana Minghella, who introduced me to Steve, and to Chooks Maxwell down in Devon, who hosted us at the Quaker Centre. And to Anne and Ollie and Christina, Ollie's future. Love and light, Steve and Ollie. You are greatly missed by those who love you, dear men. So, a moment to just reflect on all those who are suffering at this time around the world with COVID-19 and as a result of COVID-19, because the ripple effects of this pandemic are really extraordinary and profound. So I'm holding on, friends. Find your stone. With love from the River Arrow. Kinkton, Herefordshire, Welsh border. Let's do what we can to make the world a kinder place. I'm glad I took that moment because something else has just come together in my awareness. Wait for the splash. The One Leadership Project. Steve Onyett and the One Leadership Project are passionate about teaming. Steve's work on compassionate mental health teams and assertive outreach teams saved many, many lives. And Alistair Scott and Neil Scotton's work on resilience and teamwork in a crisis is profound and powerful. And so Team Space integrates circle practice, convening questions, listening, curiosity, appreciations, rigour. 20-minute Team Space, friends, look out for it. Compassion circles, care space, team space, pause space, me space. Feels good to hold this stone.